everyone, you're listening to Just a Little Stitious podcast. I'm Jess.
And I'm her sister Megan, also known as the Queer Crypt on TikTok.
Whether you're driving, cleaning up the house, or just relaxing at home, we want you to hang out with us. And as Megan would say, get a little creeped out.
That's right. We'll be bringing you stories of paranormal news, extreme hauntings, cryptid sightings, urban legends, basically everything that goes bump in the night.
So if you're up for some eerie tales and a healthy dose of sisterly bullying,
then you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Oh my God, we're back again.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, you're gonna need that. Should have kept that on.
It was a little tight.
Welcome back, or if you're new here, we're happy to have you. We're going to start today's episode with a trigger warning. There are some disturbing events that we're going to talk about in this episode. Some people might find it upsetting. I will let you know when I'm about to get into the topic of something upsetting, but just to give you an idea of what the trigger warnings are going to be about, it's harm to animals. Violent thoughts and planning. And then at the end, we're going to listen to an EVP that a different podcast was able to take in the Sallie House. Some people do find it upsetting. I found it upsetting when I listened to it.
Awesome.
It's terrifying. And anyways, this is part 2 of the extreme haunting of Tony and Debra Pickman. We definitely suggest that you go and watch the first episode if you haven't seen it. A quick overview of what happened in the first episode, though. A newlywed couple, Tony and Debra Pickman, moved into a rental house together in Atchison, Kansas. It was 1993. Debra was pregnant, and very soon after they moved in, they started experiencing the paranormal. It started pretty light with lights dimming, weird things going on with their electronics, and quickly progressed to stuffed animals moving on their own.
Yes. Stuffed animals being mysteriously placed into a circle.
Super creepy. Fires starting on their own.
Little girls crawling on the ceiling.
Tony getting scratched as things start to progress with the haunting. And basically, Tony and Debra Pickman have a psychic, Barbara, that they're consulting throughout this extreme haunting. And from her and other information they've received, they find out that the house is haunted by a little girl named Sallie. She's somewhere between 5 and 7, maybe. Debra is feeling very maternal towards Sallie, to the point where she tells her she loves her, tells her she can cuddle in bed with her. Tony is not feeling that way.
As he shouldn't be.
Also, one more thing I want to mention about this story is that all of the information that I'm telling you guys is directly from Debra's book that she wrote about the haunting. She kept diary notes throughout the haunting. So I just want to let everyone know that this information is directly from the book that she wrote. Because this story is so famous,
right?
There's a lot of different rumors that aren't true.
Right. Yeah. Get it right from the source.
So this part of the story is going to require a trigger warning, but I will give the trigger warning right before we find out what happened. Anyone who didn't watch the first episode, Taylor is still a baby. He was born in June or July. We're just going to get right back into the story. September 22nd, 1993, and Debra is running late for an appointment. So she grabs some clothes out of the washer, throws it in the dryer for only 30 minutes, pulls some of it out, finds what she needs, and heads to her appointment. A little while later, Tony wakes up and realizes that the clothes in the hamper are still damp, so throws them back in the dryer and turns it on to a 90-minute cycle. He was kind of like feeling irritable just from the start from this morning because he could hear shoes in the dryer and he was irritated by that.
Yeah, that's irritating.
He decides to put on some music and clean. And right away, some paranormal activity starts. He puts on the music and right away it gets turned off. He goes and turns it back on, takes a few steps, and it gets turned back off.
Sallie's such a buzzkill. No fun
he's
for
like,
you.
Well, he's like, this is Sallie playing her like little on-off game, and I'm not having it. So anyways, he turns the music back on, grabs the vacuum, starts the vacuum. Few seconds into vacuuming, the vacuum turns off.
Ugh.
And this happens like 5 or 6 times. And eventually he angrily yells at Sallie to stop. Later that day, he's telling Debra about this irritating experience. And, it started with the shoes in the dryer. And then
Yeah.
Sallie kept shutting off my music. Sallie kept shutting off the fucking vacuum. Like, that would be so fucking annoying.
That would be.
This comment reminds Debra that she has clothes in the dryer. Trigger warning for this part. So maybe skip ahead a few minutes if you don't want to hear this part.
Stop. No, I know what's in it. I know what's in the dryer. I know what's in the dryer.
Yeah. So she goes to the dryer, starts pulling out the clothes, and notices like these brown spots all over the clothes, and discovers that one of the cats had crawled into the dryer to like sit on the warm clothes. Tony obviously didn't realize, threw more clothes on top, and put it on a 90-minute cycle. She was devastated.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
No.
How would you feel if like your husband did that to one of your pets, even though it was an accident?
I'd be so upset.
I know.
I'd be devastated.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have cats. We have guinea pigs. But like, it's not funny, Megan.
No, I know, but it's still...
If the guinea pig it couldn't, but if it did get in the dryer, and I'd be super upset.
Obviously, Tony is super upset
He didn't do it on purpose,
about it too.
So.
But Debra tells Tony, like, Sallie was trying to warn you that something was wrong.
Oh.
And you need to pay attention if activity is that persistent. For a week following this incident, there was literally not a single bit of activity.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. She's pissed.
Yeah, which is not normal for this house. There's always activity. Yeah. So sad, though.
That's super
upsetting. I know. When I read that, I was like, fuck. Where is this going?
It's so upsetting. Like, I'm terrified of all animals. I don't like them very much. But like, hearing stuff like that, like, it breaks my heart. That's so sad.
I know. By the way, everyone, Jessica's terrified of all animals, and she got chased by a goose when she was 2.
I feel like that's irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant because it was hilarious. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Tried to bite my finger.
She was running in a circle, and the goose was literally chasing her in a circle.
That happened to me again when I was in my 20s. I went to...
Welcome to Canada.
I went to the park with my friend Jenny, and we were walking around the duck pond. Hundreds of geese.
Did you provoke?
No, I was just being myself.
Yourself is provoking.
Debatable. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. Now we're in October. It's October 10th, 1993.
Good day. I don't know.
Okay, I was like, should I know that date?
Just felt like something to say.
One night, Tony and Debra are sitting on the couch chatting. Tony admits something to Debra.
He knew the cat was in there.
No.
Oh.
He had been having this sensation for about the past week of something nibbling on his toes while he slept, while he watched TV, while he was sitting at the dinner table. He could feel something like lightly biting his toes. I think Debra kind of found it a little bit funny.
That's my biggest fear.
That's why people cover their feet.
Have you ever seen that movie, Gerald's Game?
I think so, but I don't remember.
They're playing like a sex game, and she's tied to the bed. He dies of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And there's this, I don't know what his deal is, but he comes in with the most scariest yellowy eyes. And when she's sleeping, she wakes up to him sucking on her toe. And he's like a 7-foot tall, bald guy with like freaky face, long face.
I feel so disturbed right now.
And I picture it. And I watched that movie like 2 years ago, and I still wake up in the middle of the night, and I'm terrified to see his eyes sucking on my toe, looking directly at me like he did in the movie.
Oh God, stop.
I'm just saying, that's what that reminded me of. Sallie sucking on his toes.
Biting
on his...
Nibbling. Little nibble. Little nibble.
His toenails. They're too long.
They're too long.
I need a trimming.
Literally. So they have this conversation, and then Debra goes upstairs to shower. As she's going upstairs to shower, she hears Tony yell, ow! But she just leaves it. She goes and showers. When she comes out of the shower, he is waiting outside the bathroom door, and he's like, she bit me. And Debra actually bursts out laughing because she's like, oh my God, like this little kid ghost bit my husband. She is viewing this very differently to how Tony is.
Yeah.
It's hard to put myself in Debra's shoes because I'm such a scaredy cat. So I don't know. But I don't think I would find it funny. But she can tell that Tony is visibly upset.
Yeah.
And on his thigh, there is a bright red bite mark.
No way.
And there's small teeth marks. Like beet red. Yeah.
Wait, what? She's a ghost. She's a powerful little ghost. Leaving tooth marks? Ugh, and kid tooth marks?
God, it gets so much worse. Now we're at Halloween 1993. And this is really interesting to me because they say that the veil is thinner on Halloween. And this is a pretty big paranormal event that happens. One of my craziest paranormal experiences, which we'll talk about in a different episode, happened to me on Halloween. So I don't know, I just find it interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Tony gets home late from work. He does shift work. He works at a grain plant. He goes into the kitchen to get a glass of juice, turns around and sees a little girl standing in his kitchen. Why did you just look behind you?
Fear effect.
Are you serious? You fucking weirdo. Little girl, about 3.5 feet tall.
Terrifying.
Curly brown hair. You've seen the picture of Sallie.
Yes.
That's what she looks like. Bow, big blue eyes. And she's looking at him like wide-eyed and surprised. And he said she looked so real that he just became paralyzed. But he did drop his glass. And as his juice hit the floor and his glass shattered, he looked down. And when he looked back up, she was gone.
Oh, fuck, no.
But immediately he wakes up Debra. He's like, I fucking saw Sallie. And she's so cute. She's not capable of these crazy things that are happening. She's so cute. This might actually be the sketch that he does that we looked at. There was a couple sketches he did.
Okay.
So then he does another sketch of her.
Yeah. And here it is.
Yeah. Voila. So he sketched it and both him and Debra are like, there's no way she's 7. Like she doesn't look like she could be older than 5.
Yeah.
This is when they kind of realize whatever age she's been saying she is, she's probably not that old.
Right.
Yeah. And they end up displaying that photo next to a picture of Taylor, which is interesting, like the sketch he did. Moving on to November. American Thanksgiving is in November. Debra's family is coming for Thanksgiving, including her sister Karen. And if you watched episode 1, you know that when the paranormal activity really escalated and everyone came to realize that the house was haunted, Karen was staying with Tony and Debra.
Right.
So quite a few things happened over Thanksgiving. Another tea light was found lit, playing with fire. During dinner one day, they heard rattling in the kitchen and bottles being knocked over, but no one was in there. One night, Karen was doing dishes after dinner and she could hear scratching.
Ugh.
Like near the window in front of her, and she would not look because she was so creeped out.
Oh my God.
Scratching really fucks me up.
I don't like that at all.
I know. It's so creepy. Also, Karen was napping on the couch one day. Debra was in the kitchen. And all of a sudden, Karen comes running into the kitchen. And she was like, you remember the infamous beanbag bear?
Yeah.
It was engulfed in 6 to 8 inch flames from the top of its head.
No way. From its head?
Yes, from its head.
Holy
And
shit.
so she panicked, rushed into the kitchen. When she got to the kitchen, it went out.
Oh my God.
But there were strange burn marks on the bear.
Oh my God.
Of course, Debra scolded Sallie because she's like, another crazy fire. But what's so interesting about these random fires is that they're so controlled.
Yeah, that's weird.
The flames aren't spreading. They're staying at the top of the bear's head. Very strange. This part I'm including too. There's a lot that I'm not including. If you've watched other podcasts about this haunting, some of them are like 4 or 5 episodes with like 4-hour-long episodes. So there's a lot I'm leaving out. But I had to include this because I thought this was really interesting and also terrifying. One day, Tony and his friend Ray are at the house. Tony's sitting on the couch. His friend Ray is sitting on the floor. They had a ceiling fan that was off. One of the pulley thingies was spinning in a circle. And that was something that Sallie was known to do. I didn't really include it because I didn't think it was that fascinating. It is something that she was known to do. There would be no airflow through the house or anything, but she would be spinning and just one, because there's one for the light, one for the fan. So she'd spin one. It kind of seemed like Sallie was always trying to get Tony's attention, maybe because he didn't give the attention. Like he would often, when paranormal things would occur, just ignore it. And Ray knew that. So they noticed this happening with the ceiling fan. And Ray jokingly pretends to go to sleep, like to ignore it. Kind of thing, All of a sudden, he felt something go past his head, and there was a ceramic vase that literally flew across the room, put a dent in the wall, and went past his head. He said where Tony was sitting, like he couldn't have thrown it. But that's not the creepiest part.
Oh, God.
That's creepy. Like things being thrown. I mean, if I saw that, I would be like, ugh.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Later on, he asked Tony and Debra if it was possible for Sallie to follow him home. And they're like, I don't know. why? And he's like, well, one night he had an article of clothing that moved from one end of the room to the other. And he was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
But like, maybe I just got confused about that. I don't know.
Right.
The next night, a 24-inch box fan, like those really big ones, moved from one side of his bedroom to the other, that's heavy. Those are heavy.
Yeah, those are heavy.
And then he also found this weird puddle in the middle of his She's like, I'm going to piss on your floor. You pissed me off. Dogs do that sometimes when they're mad at you.
So do children.
Really?
Mine don't. Some do probably, though, I'm sure.
Anyways. They're sopping wet puddle in the middle of his dining room floor. No reason for it to be there. There was no leak in his roof, in his ceiling, no leak anywhere. No windows were open. It hadn't even rained for like 2 weeks in Atchison, so made no sense. But I just think that's really
freaky.
Yeah, really freaky. And also, for a week after this incident that happened, the Pickmans didn't experience any activity. So it seems like Sallie did
go,
yeah.
I hate it.
There is something, too, that's interesting just about the paranormal and spirits. There's a belief that they can lie dormant, kind of gathering energy for a significant event. There was this period of no activity for a while leading up to Christmas. And Tony and Debra had a party planned for the house. They were going to have like 45 guests over.
Oh, shit. It's a crowd.
Debra was getting anxious.
Dinner and a show.
Yeah, literally. Because she's like, I want the activity to occur before the party, not during. But
yeah, literally.
I should mention, she did always warn Sallie when her family was coming for Thanksgiving. She would warn Sallie, hey, family's coming for Thanksgiving. You have to be on your best behavior. Hey, we're having a Christmas party. You need to be on your best behavior. They have a Christmas party. There's kids at this party. They invite Santa to come over. So he brings presents for the kids. While he's giving the presents, Deborah's thinking, I should have tried to find a way to include Sallie. Like she could almost feel the sadness and jealousy.
Oh, no.
She was really upset about it, but at the same time, she's like, I can't do anything right now without making people feel really uncomfortable or like unsettled.
Right.
Be like, okay, wait, we got to give a present to my ghost too. A couple of things did happen during the Christmas party. So Tony's father swore that he saw the beanbag bear move while Santa was giving the kids their gifts. And later that night, Tony was heading upstairs. His brother George was behind him. And all of a sudden, the fire alarm starts shrieking.
Oh my God. They
had a mop doll. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, with the hair, right?
It's literally a doll made out of a mop.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I do remember what those look like.
Yeah. They had it sitting on the stairs and it had just burst into flames. And Tony was like, oh my God, like we have guests. He grabbed it and went to go put it out in the sink. He had burns on his arm from it. I think she's mad.
Yep.
Could you imagine Santa came to your house and had presents for all of your sons, but not for your daughter?
Are you kidding me? She'd burn the entire house down. She would be so upset. She'd be screaming her head off.
I don't know what my full opinion is on Sallie. When Debra and Tony say, I don't think that Sallie would be capable of doing these things. She's so cute. She's so sweet looking, like whatever. I think of your daughter. And when she gets pissed off.
Yeah.
And she terrifies people.
She's so scary.
She can get really mad.
I know.
And like, I don't want to cross her.
No, me neither.
And I have many times.
She runs my life.
I mean, kids can be assholes.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't get me wrong.
Oh, I love my kids. But
and I love her kids.
They can be assholes.
But they can be pissed off assholes.
My daughter got mad at me not long ago. And she was like, well, your teeth are crooked. I was like, only one.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
I wanted to start roasting her so bad. It's like,
she like looks at you when she's mad at you and she's like, I'm going to say something that is going to hurt your feelings. And then she says it and I'm like, fuck. Kids can be assholes is the lesson to learn here.
And Sallie is an asshole.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not sure.
I think she's an asshole.
Well, so later that night, Debra's aunt is leaving. She knows about the haunting and everything. She's like, oh, we should have done something for Sallie with Santa. So they decide they're going to have Santa come back with presents for Taylor, the baby who had been asleep during the whole thing, and Sallie.
Smart. Nice save.
Everyone leaves and Debra scolds Sallie again for starting a fire. She's like, you cannot do this. In episode 1, if you listened, there was a paper that had been left out that Sallie had written on in the nursery. There was something new written on the paper, and it just said, go.
Ugh.
There were so many people at the house, right? So Debra was thinking maybe Sallie was really upset at all these people there. She didn't get any presents from Santa. She's upset. Debra comes up with a brilliant idea, though, because these random fires starting in the house all the fucking time is obviously a huge concern. What if one gets out of hand and no one notices? She calls Sallie into the room and shows her the oil lamp. And she's like, you can light a fire in here. Nowhere else. But if you're going to light a fire, light it in here. A few days later, Debra's aunt and Santa come by with presents for Sallie and Taylor. As soon as he comes in, the oil lamp lights on fire. Like, happy.
Is that happy or is it upset? I don't think of happiness and fires in the same kind of category.
Right. But I think that, like, it's something that she's able to do to let them know she's there. Like, she wants attention. She can do this and they know that she's there.
Yeah.
She can't use her voice.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
She's got to do all this other stuff. On Christmas, Tony and Debra bought presents for Sallie and Taylor, took photos on Christmas. When they had them developed, there were actually 2 anomalies in the photos. So it looked like there was actually 2 entities. At this point, Tony's like, I knew it. I knew there had to be 2. I knew there was something going on that Sallie couldn't be capable of. Like, Sallie can't be doing all of this bad shit. Debra sends these pictures to Barbara, the psychic Barbara, to see if there's anything that she can pick up on it.
Oh, I bet the other one is a mean old man ghost. I'm right, aren't I? I just feel like I'm right.
You feel that way a lot.
And I'm usually correct.
No, we'll see. This is a really creepy experience that Tony has. We're in January now. For several nights when Tony had been trying to sleep, he kept hearing thumping on the stairs, and he thought it was the cats. Because remember, they had 3, now 2 cats. But this one night, it's like 1 a.m. He can't fall asleep. So he goes out to go and, like, either yell at the cats or, like, bring them in the bed. No, bring them in the bedroom and, like, catch them, you know? So he goes out and he's standing there. The cats aren't on the stairs. He starts hearing the thumping at the bottom of the stairs.
No.
There's no cats. It comes up the stairs.
No.
And he's frozen. Like, the sound passes by him and he feels this cold energy pass by him with the thumping, and he's terrified. So he runs into the bedroom and tries to wake up Debra, but she's super groggy and doesn't really wake up, doesn't really fully understand what's happening. Shortly after, though, he hears a thudding sound in the bedroom.
Oh.
Yeah. And he tries to wake up Debra again. Like, it's in the bedroom. Whatever this is in the bedroom with us, but she's too groggy and, like, doesn't wake up.
I would leave my husband there and I would fucking go.
I would slap my partner awake.
I wouldn't even waste the time doing it. I would be out of there so freaking fast with my kids. And I would leave Arthur to fend off the ghost on his own. Good fucking luck, you asshole.
Should have woken up.
Exactly.
But just, like, imagine how scared you would be in that instant, in the dark, hearing these noises. I would need to, like, wake up my partner and be like, this is happening. And they're not waking up. That's stressful.
Literally. I mean, you're laying in bed in, like, complete darkness and whatever. You hear, like, a creak in the floorboard or something. That's terrifying on its own. Like, I hear something like that and I'm convinced something or someone's in my home. Yeah. It scares the shit out of me.
Exactly.
I couldn't imagine.
Now, moving on to February. This is interesting, too, because, well, you'll see why later. Tony and Debra got a new TV. The remote went missing. They were looking for the remote, couldn't find it. Tony fell asleep on the couch. Debra put a blanket over him and went up to shower. When she came back downstairs, he was still asleep, but the remote was on his lap over top of the blanket. Tony wakes up and Deborah's like, oh, where'd you find the remote? He thought she was playing a trick on him. And he's like, you gave it to me. And she's like, no, I didn't. I was in the shower. He said he felt someone touch his shoulder and a woman's voice say, Tony, here's your remote.
Ew. Ew, ew, ew.
From this, they start to surmise that this second entity might be a woman
touching her husband.
And I just want to point out that if that's the case, you were wrong. Anyway, and then a few days after that, Tony's in the bathroom and he sees Debra pass by him, but she's got her hair piled up and she's wearing this long sleeve shirt that looks kind of from a different age.
Okay.
Then a few minutes later, he sees Debra again and she's not even dressed yet and her hair is not piled up on her head. So he's like, oh my God, who did I see? That wasn't Debra. She hasn't even gotten dressed yet.
Oh my God, it was the ghost. He saw the ghost.
He saw the ghost.
Ah.
He's seeing ghosts.
Yeah, why isn't she seeing anything?
Yeah, it's interesting because she would probably want to see them.
You'd think she'd want to see it the most. Like, he just wants to ignore it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe.
Because they're like, look, you can't ignore me, you asshole.
Mhm.
I am here. Acknowledge me.
Exactly.
And now he's forced to.
Yeah, he is forced to.
I don't like it.
See, this is why if your house is haunted,
Say hi to your ghost, man.
say hi to your ghost. Say, hey, you know?
I do that at home. I
Me
don't
too.
believe that my home is haunted,
Yeah.
but I do. I talk to myself just in general.
Yeah.
And every now and then I'll be like, hi, everyone. Like, just, like I will. I will talk to any kind of anything that may or may not be, just to be safe.
No, I think that's smart. I think like I'm like, if there's any entities here, like, but if things were happening and it was haunting and scary, I'd be like, hey, you know, we both have to live here.
Take it easy.
Take it easy. Let's both be respectful of each other.
There's still a lot more scary stuff to happen.
Yeah.
This probably isn't even the scariest of it, is it?
No.
I can't believe I've never heard of this story before.
I hadn't either. Later that month, Tony's brother George tells Debra that he wants to try an experiment in the house. He comes over with a couple of his friends. Essentially, they kind of do a seance. So they turn all the lights dim. They sit around the table. They all have their hands on the table so everyone can see that no one's going to make a noise or like anything like that.
Yeah.
They ask for a sign of a spirit's presence, but nothing happens. Around 11 p.m., though, Tony kind of moves his hand near his face. And he's like, I felt something weird near my face, but whatever, nothing seems to be going on. But a few minutes later, one of George's friends is looking intently at Tony and sees that there's blood running down his face. And there were 2 scratches above his eyebrow that were now bleeding. When we hear about someone being scratched, obviously, like a quick assumption is demonic, right?
Yeah.
That being said, through researching the paranormal, scratches are actually really common for just regular hauntings. Experts say that it's not necessarily demonic. It might just be an entity trying to let you know it's there.
Because I've woken up with scratches before, but it could just be like from my husband's toenails or something. I really don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. Or like maybe you scratched yourself in your sleep.
Could have.
Yeah. Okay.
That is a possibility.
Yeah. That's funny. Also, later that night, they found a burnt pacifier on the ground.
That, I don't like that.
And I have a photo of it if you want to see it.
Obviously, I want to see it, Megan. What a stupid question.
Okay. So this is the pacifier. You can just kind of see that it's kind of burnt and it was still warm to the touch too.
Oh, so it was fresh.
It was under the table. Strange.
I don't like that. I would be so concerned now that the baby's stuff is starting to get burned like that.
Yeah.
I would move.
I know. It's
Still
really...
there.
So I'm going to go over a few, I think, pretty intense paranormal events that happen over the next little while. So again, it kind of seems like whatever entity is in the house, Sallie, maybe the other one, can move. One day, Tony is at work at the grain elevator. He's in his office with a coworker chatting. There was metal doors to his office. And all of a sudden they blew open like a huge gust of wind, even though there was no wind, and literally smashed his window.
Holy crap.
It fell to the ground. This is heavy duty shit.
Yeah.
So that would have taken some power and they felt like it was paranormal. And it was the window and the frame that smashed.
Holy.
Yeah. In April, Debra received a call from Barbara. She had looked at the photos from Christmas and she said, yes, there is another entity in the house. It's a woman. She has light colored hair. She's around 5'6" or 5'7". It might be Sally's mother. She wants Sallie to go with her, but Sallie won't.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably because now Sallie is so attached probably to Debra. Now she probably doesn't want to go because Debra paid her too much attention.
That could be.
Rookie mistake.
In June, there's a night where at like 1 a.m., Debra wakes up to baby Taylor, like blood-curdling scream. She keeps going and comforting him and then putting him back to bed, and it keeps happening. So she winds up bringing him into the master bedroom to sleep, and then he sleeps fine. The next night, again, Taylor kept waking up right away with the blood-curdling scream. It kind of dawns on Debra that maybe something is scaring him.
Yeah.
Which makes her feel awful. She's in her bedroom, but she says out loud, Sallie, do you think you could help me? I need you to watch over and protect Taylor. He's really tired and needs to get some sleep. Can you make sure no one wakes him up or scares him tonight? It would be a really big help to us and Taylor too. And afterwards, he slept through the night. Which, so it's interesting too, because she's asking Sallie for help and it is helping. So,
yeah.
And then another thing that happened in June, and this is like, is Tony was putting Taylor down in the crib and put the blanket over him, and it ripped off.
Ugh.
Yeah. And then he put the blanket on him again, ripped off again. He put it on one last time. He said, now quit that. And it stayed on him.
Makes me wonder if she was doing that because putting a blanket on an infant increases the chances of SIDS, of suffocating on
they
their
probably
blanket.
didn't know that then.
Yeah, probably not.
But maybe Sallie knew somehow, or someone there knew somehow. That's an interesting perspective, because I view that as like negative and creepy, but that could be.
Well, I see a baby with a blanket, like a little baby, and I'm like, get that blanket off the fucking baby. But like, we're born in the 90s and we had blankets. We had tons of shit in our cribs with us. Like, that was kind of how it was back then.
Yeah, exactly.
But these days, I think I think about it and I'm like, I feel like she's trying to just
maybe
protect him. Or maybe she doesn't want him to overheat, because that's another cause of SIDS for babies, is getting too hot. And I don't know.
It is June.
Yeah, it's hot.
How do you think you'd be feeling in this?
With a baby, or the baby blanket being ripped off? I would move away. I would have moved away a long time ago.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even give it a chance to happen. Especially when it comes to like your kids, man. Like, it's one thing for scary shit to happen to me or to you or to whoever, but like that shit happening and it's right around my kids, and fuck that.
I think that Tony does want to move out, but Debra doesn't want to. They can't afford to. July of 1994, Tony has a terrifying experience in the master bedroom. He had been working nights, so he was trying to sleep during the day. He awoke to specks of dust forming into an ominous figure.
Oh my God.
Resembling a woman. As she manifested, his waterbed, 90s, started to shake and move violently.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So everything was like bouncing off the bed. He's bouncing on the bed. This is interesting. She had dark hair, because the entity that we've talked about before, has appeared to look, similar to Debra from the corner of Tony's eye.
Shape-shifting ghost.
That's potential.
Can they do that?
I don't know, but
I mean, they can. Of course they can. It's a ghost.
Well, is it a ghost? We don't know.
That flame keeps moving in a funny way, and it's freaking me out.
Oh my God. Anyways, she had dark hair, a stern expression. She was wearing a high-collared black dress.
Morticia vibes.
Yeah, with a brooch. And she moved closer to him. He was paralyzed with fear.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And he was trying to call for help, but nothing would come out.
Yeah.
Basically, the room descended into chaos. The bedroom door slammed shut.
Oh.
Yeah. I would shit my pants. Drawers were opening and closing. There was this part of their dresser that like turned right around. The woman lunged at him. As she lunged at him, this black bird appeared on her hand, which is really strange.
Yeah.
She yelled in a threatening voice, "I'm gonna," and then he didn't hear the rest.
Oh my God.
He tried to flee, but the bedroom door wouldn't open. So he started calling for Debra. He's now able to use his voice. She eventually hears him. When she gets to the bedroom, he's on the far side of the bed with his arms stretched out from his sides, and his palms are laying flat on the bed. So he's like this on the bed. What's interesting though is that Debra was upstairs during all this. Master bedroom, the nursery, and there's a bathroom upstairs as well. She didn't hear the door slam. She didn't hear the drawers opening and closing. Ugh. She didn't hear any of that, but she did hear Tony scream for her. So I'm curious if it's possible that this was him experiencing sleep paralysis.
Yeah, that's interesting. It could be. I mean, if he's on the bed, arms out, I don't know.
I mean, it's a strange scenario. And I mean, even if it was sleep paralysis, in my mind, that doesn't necessarily mean that it wasn't supernatural.
Yeah.
But I am not entirely convinced that he was awake.
Yeah.
Especially because I've experienced sleep paralysis.
Right.
I know how real it feels.
Right. And she didn't hear anything.
Yeah.
Aside from him screaming.
Right. And you would think that she would hear all of the, that would be noisy.
Slam, like drawers opening and shit. Like, yeah, there's no way.
As you know, the Pickmans were dealing with this psychic Barbara throughout the haunting. She was helping them navigate the haunting.
Yeah.
And she would often give lectures on their haunting, but she always kept them anonymous. Yeah. But this show called Sightings wound up hearing about the Pickmans' extreme haunted house from Barbara and wanted her to contact them, and they wanted to do an episode.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. The Pickmans were reluctant, but did agree as long as Tony could be disguised throughout the episode, because he wanted to avoid ridicule from friends and family. They did have people in their life who knew about the haunting.
Right.
They had a lot that didn't, though.
Right.
And they did have also people that knew, but they felt probably judged them. So Sighting comes to the house. During filming, 3 scratches appear on Tony's arm. He's off camera when it happens, but they agree that they're going to wait to continue filming until Barbara gets there because she's also coming for the episode. Later, Barbara's there. They're doing an interview with Tony, and all of a sudden he's like, I can feel this like really cold sensation around my stomach. And he lifts his shirt. There was now scratches down the center of his stomach.
Oh, but do you think that Tony would do this to himself, knowing that there's cameras there to capture it? Like maybe he wants to prove something to these people, right? Like,
yeah. Initially,
yeah,
I was definitely thinking the same thing. Even though there is the point of him wanting to remain anonymous through this, makes me think not. But you give a good point there that maybe he's just trying to prove that, hey, there is some paranormal activity happening here.
Yeah.
But the cameraman zooms in on his stomach. And they see welts starting to form.
What?
And eventually they realize that it's actually a new scratch forming in front of their eyes.
Stop. Oh my God.
I think it was 9 minutes of footage. It took 9 minutes for the scratch to appear. And literally happened as they were watching.
Oh God, that makes me feel so.
Yeah. After filming, Debra and Barbara are chatting, and Debra's like, is it possible that it's not Sallie doing these scratches? It doesn't seem like something that she would do. Barbara confirms Debra's suspicions. She says it's not Sallie. Sallie is actually upset by the scratches and the fact that she's being blamed for them. So Barbara asks Sallie who's responsible for the scratches. Sallie told her it's a woman that she doesn't know. Who wasn't at the Pickmans' house when they moved in.
Oh my God.
Sallie told Barbara that this woman had been attached to a person who had come into the house, and then for some reason, this entity decided to stay in the house. And she stated the woman wasn't nice.
No shit.
And did a lot of things that Sallie got blamed for.
Oh, I wonder if it like that was the fire. Oh no, because the fire, she got happy when Santa came and
yeah,
she lit
but
the
I'm
fire.
but
maybe like the engulfed head, like the candles, maybe Sallie, but the engulfed flames on all this crap. I don't know.
Could multiple entities be lighting fires?
The vase being thrown across.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this was the last time that the Pickmans were able to talk to Barbara because she did end up passing away shortly after this. The film crew that went to the house from Sightings, they were shocked. There's no way this is a hoax. They're like, this house is haunted. They actually request to come do a second episode on the house. And Tim White, who is the host of Sightings, wants to come. And this is also unheard of. He never goes to any locations. He's just the host. But he's like, I got to see this because my crew are telling me that this house is crazy haunted.
Wow. That's crazy.
The Sightings crew comes again. They also bring an investigator named Al Rober, I believe his name is. I could be saying that wrong. Debra and Tony described that the host of the show Sightings was skeptical, but super nice. He had healthy skepticism.
Yeah.
This Al guy dismissed everything they were experiencing. Debra said he was curt, dismissive, and condescending. He also pulled each Debra and Tony to the side separately. When he talked to Debra, he was like, I think this paranormal activity is happening because of Tony, because I think he has some unresolved trauma. Maybe he was molested as a child. He says the exact same thing to Tony. I think this is happening because of Debra. She has unresolved. Like, what the fuck?
I'd knock his ass out.
Right?
I'd like, get the fuck out.
Like, what a fucking douche canoe.
Yeah, what a dick.
Yeah. Scratches did appear on Tony during this visit as well. And after this episode, him and Debra are like, we're not doing this anymore because activity really seems to amp up during filming, specifically Tony getting scratched. But several weeks later, Sightings calls them again and wants to come back a third time. They say they want to come because they're concerned for Tony and Debra.
Yeah.
Tony and Debra initially decline, but they do wind up accepting. You know, it's hard because there's definitely people that are ridiculing them. There's definitely people who don't believe them, but at the same time, they want answers. They did have a paranormal investigator named Peter James come this time, and when he was outside of the house, going up to the house, he did see a little girl in a bedroom window and thought thought there was a child that they had in the house.
Oh, shit.
And found out that there was only a baby and no little girl. Things really amp up during this episode of Sightings. They're in the nursery. Tony feels something stinging him on his back. They lift up the back of his shirt and the initials MC have been carved into his back. Later, his shirt literally burst into flames and everyone had to extinguish it.
While he was wearing it?
While he was wearing it.
That ghost is a real bitch.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Peter, who must have also been a psychic, concluded that 3 people had died in the house. Debra had also done extensive research on who had lived in this house, who had passed away in this house. There had been members of the Finley family and Michael C. Finney, which MC, they're thinking maybe like that those initials had something to do with that. Sallie told Peter that she had pain in her lung and her foot or ankle. Peter actually wound up bringing the crew to a nearby graveyard and going to a grave. And he's like, this is her grave. The name on the grave is Sallie. He just, brought them there. However, I don't know if I believe this psychic because Debra winds up investigating on this tombstone and who this woman was. It was Sallie Hall, a woman who died at 34. She was Black, not a little
blonde girl.
Brown-haired girl, but not a little white girl. So that doesn't make sense.
No.
Sightings wants to come back one more time because they're like, this is the real deal. This place is haunted. But to prevent doubts about the authenticity of the haunting, Tony is like, I want someone who's going to be with me, watching me the whole time, not taking their eyes off me, so that it can be seen that I'm not doing this to myself. Because lots of people are like, well, maybe he like scratches himself and then like puts baby powder on it or something. And then like it bleeds later. There's lots of different skeptical opinions, obviously, which is fair.
The show is a real show that aired back in the day?
Yeah.
I wonder if we could find it.
I've been trying and I haven't been able
Sightings?
to. Yeah. I really want to watch the episodes though so bad.
Same.
If anyone knows where we can get access, let us know. So they brought in a parapsychologist named Carrie Gaynor. He took it very seriously. The Pickmans were extremely thankful for him. He watched Tony the whole time. He sat beside Tony, who was sitting for a lot of this investigation, and witnessed 11 scratches form on Tony. No explanation as to how they were appearing, which also a lot of these like scratches that would appear on Tony, he wouldn't feel them, a lot of them. Like sometimes if they were really deep, he would feel the sting, but most of the scratches, he wouldn't feel anything. Carrie Gaynor described the case as interesting, exciting, and potentially dangerous. And he said it was unlike anything he'd encountered in 20 years of investigating and over 850 investigations.
Wow.
So that says something.
Yeah.
Shortly after this 4th sightings visit, a medium contacts Tony and Debra Pickman and offers to cleanse the house of negative energy. She claims that she works with a shaman guide on the other side.
Okay.
And that she helps spirits cross over. So they agree. She comes over. She says, there's an older man in the house. He didn't want to cross over, but she convinced him to. Then she's in the master bedroom and Tony and Debra are in the hallway that connect, the nursery, the bathroom, and the master bedroom.
Right.
In there, they can hear this medium is trying to convince a spirit to leave, then demanding that a spirit tries to leave. Tony and Debra are sitting with candles and they are holding hands and they're concentrating on like filling the rooms in the house with light and good energy. But while the medium is trying to get this entity in the bedroom to leave, Tony starts making painful sounds.
Poor guy.
And he was like gripping Debra's hand really hard. He was getting scratched on his back. The medium was like, stay strong. But she did keep checking on him like, do we need to stop? Do we need to stop? And he's like, no, we need to get this done.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Also to be clear, like they are not trying to get rid of Sallie. They're just trying to get rid of anything negative. Eventually it seemed like this spirit, which was a female spirit, gave in. And afterwards they inspected Tony's back where he had felt burning. There were 8 distinct deep scratches, and I have photos.
God. Holy shit. It's so weird too, like the way that it's, I don't like it. It's like 4 fingers on each hand. Like, I hate it. I hate it.
I do too.
What?
It's terrifying.
Okay, yeah.
Throughout this whole thing, this has mainly been from Debra's perspective, right?
Right.
Now I'm going to tell you about the haunting through Tony's perspective.
Okay.
He felt that living in this haunted house was deeply frightening and emotionally draining. He was constantly fearing for his family's safety, constantly fearing for Taylor's safety.
Yeah.
Especially because the baby's too young to communicate anything that's going on. And he felt really unheard by Debra. She wasn't really listening to him or taking him seriously.
Yeah.
And kind of was like, this is all harmless. And he's like, this doesn't feel harmless to me.
No. Yeah.
Their different perspectives led them to a lot of arguments.
Literally. Divorce.
Yeah.
Bye.
And Tony really wanted to leave the house, but Debra would always give practical reasons of why they couldn't or shouldn't.
Right.
He also often felt like their experiences were similar to the infamous Amityville horror. Everyone yells at me for how I say it.
I say Amityville.
Amityville horror case.
It does actually. I've thought of it a few times while you've been telling this story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It is.
And he's worried that, he was worried that he was going to be driven to destructive actions. The huge difference between his encounters and how he was feeling left him feeling really lonely. Despite the strain, he wanted to stay and protect his family, and that was at the forefront of his mind. They do eventually move out, and I will tell you what happened that finally made them move out. Several years after they had moved out, Debra finally realized how dismissive she had been to Tony and that he hadn't told her about a lot of things that had happened because she was so dismissive. And she had a lot of regrets about this. Here are some things that Tony admitted to Debra after moving out of the house.
Oh, God. Okay.
He would frequently hear scratching noises inside the walls of the house.
Ugh.
And the noises grew more distinct over time. Months after moving in, he began hearing strange voices and conversations throughout the house. And throughout their time living there, those also became louder, but he could never tell what they were saying.
Oh my God, I would go crazy.
Yeah. And you would probably be thinking you were crazy.
I would be 100%.
Yeah.
I'd be thinking that I'm literally going insane.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe he was going crazy and maybe he wasn't, those sounds he wasn't actually hearing, they were in his head maybe?
Definitely. I think that could be a possibility. Could be, but I don't think that's the case. He's very open about, I would have thought that if someone told me this was happening in their house, I'd have been like, get checked out. He did go get checked out. And he's not schizophrenic. He's not bipolar. He's not mentally unwell. He would often see a full-bodied apparition that looked similar to Debra out of the corner of his eye normally. He would often see a woman sitting at the end of their bed.
Ugh.
And also, this is a part that Tony and Debra talk about that Debra kind of wrote off and dismissed, but a memory that they talk about later after they'd moved out. And that is that shortly before the Sightings crew came the first time, he started experiencing this cold sensation while he was asleep or in bed, moving up his thighs.
Oh.
Even while he was awake.
Nope. Don't like that.
The incidents were increasing in frequency at the time. He eventually admitted during this that it was happening. And one night he was violently shaking Debra, being like, it's happening right now. And his legs couldn't move. Debra could see that he was terrified. And she sat up and yelled forcefully at whatever it was to get off of him. It did. They inspected Tony's legs and they found red marks on his thighs resembling handprints, which soon morphed into bruises. By the next day, the bruises were gone. This is also another memory that Debra kind of dismissed, but looking back is I should have paid more attention to this. One afternoon, her and Tony were relaxing on the sofa. Tony was dozing off, but he suddenly sat up and in a strange voice said, "He's mine."
Oh.
And then he laid right back down and it was nothing happened. At the time, she was maybe he's having a dream about Taylor, and being he's my baby. Yeah. But later, she's was something speaking through him to me, being he's mine, Tony's mine.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Tony also confessed that during this time, he had increasingly angry and harmful feelings towards Debra. He had hateful thoughts when he looked at her.
Oh, that ghost totally got in his head. Or she was in him, making him want to hurt her, get rid of her, eliminate the competition.
Oh, fuck yeah. You have no idea. He was struggling with the desire to harm Debra. He was, yeah. And one day he even called her at work and he was like, I really think we need to get out of here. I'm uneasy. I'm scared. I think someone's going to get hurt and I think it's going to be you. She didn't want to move yet. Tony's aggressiveness escalated. He became extremely argumentative, short-tempered, impatient. Debra was attributing this to lack of sleep because of his shift work, but later they think it's something more. Another trigger warning here, so maybe skip ahead a few minutes if you don't want to hear this part. One morning, Debra left for work, and Tony was sitting on the couch stewing, angry at Debra. He goes and pours himself a bowl of cereal, and then all of a sudden sees that there's this random cat in their kitchen that he doesn't know, that's not their cat, and is drinking his milk. And he becomes enraged. He's overcome with rage. And he grabbed a knife and stabbed the cat.
This is a real cat?
This is a real cat.
Oh my God. Like, he's not imagining it.
No, this
crap.
really happened. And specifically, he left the dead cat in the kitchen for Debra to find. He knew she was an animal lover, and he remembered thinking that he was excited at the thought of her reaction when she got home. After this, he sat on the couch and was distinctly thinking about how he was going to kill Debra when she returned home.
Oh my God.
He was specifically planning to slit her throat as she walked by. He remained in this dark state for hours until he had to go pick up Taylor. He was gone for a few hours. He went to his parents' house, and he felt like got a clear head when he was away from the house, was horrified when he got back to the house, cleaned up the dead cat. And I've heard him talk about this, and he's like, he's an animal lover himself, and he is horrified that this happened. This is the incident in which now Tony and Debra finally wind up moving out.
Okay.
Debra's at work again, and Tony is just coming out of the master bedroom when something violently pushes him. He was struck with such force that his feet left the ground.
Oh.
He flew forward into the upstairs railing of the stairs, broke a few rungs from how hard he was pushed into it. He spent the rest of the day sitting on the couch, too afraid to move, because he was like, I think something was trying to push me off the rail.
Yeah.
And he ended up calling Debra at work and being like, we have to move. Like, there's no
if ands or buts about it.
Yeah. When she got home, he told her what happened, and he doesn't know if it's just because of how shaken he was or because of the incident itself, but she finally agreed, yes, it's time to move. And they wound up moving out about 2 weeks after. They found a place very quickly. Doesn't end there, though. Even after moving, Tony would wake up on his couch to find his clothes on fire. And this happened for, like, it might still be happening. You know, Tony and Debra wound up having more children. Yeah. And I heard Tony say in an interview, like, his kids have seen his shirt randomly just catch flame.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He's seen butcher knives fly through the air, just narrowly missing his face. He feels an unexplainable pull to go back to the house. One day he even woke up in winter barefoot, standing in front of the house. He had walked 10 blocks in his sleep. From their new house to this old house. He's not alone in this. Some people who have visited the house claim that a presence followed them and stayed with them for a few weeks, sometimes even a few months. Ugh. Also that a lot of them feel this pull, like they need to go back to the house.
Ew.
The Pickmans advised people to steer clear of the house. They also discovered that a lot of the disturbances they had at their new home would coincide with paranormal investigators who were really into provoking ghosts investigating at the house. Because now you can go and stay overnight there and investigate. Like, you can pay to stay, you can take tours. Ugh. Tony and Debra did also return to the house a couple of times to do paranormal investigations. And they had some pretty scary things happen. One of which was Tony being lifted a foot off the ground and being thrown against a wall, which was 4 feet away. And it was with such force that when he was thrown, his boot was left on the ground.
Holy crap, that's crazy.
Tony continues to struggle with the psychological and emotional impact this had on him. Yeah. This really strained him and Debra's relationship, strained him in general, and tested his mental resistance.
Yeah, no kidding. Jesus Christ.
There is a legend of the Sallie House and who Sallie was and how this all happened. And I will tell you it quickly. However, I do want to state that there's literally no evidence to substantiate. So who knows?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But it is believed that Sallie was a 7-year-old girl, probably younger. A doctor lived there, came to his house to get treatment. She was in terrible pain. Her mother was frantic, and he believed she had appendicitis, the doctor. So he had to operate immediately to remove her appendix. He didn't have any nurses to help, any assistance. He did his best, but she passed away. So it is believed that through this surgery, she was wide awake, in her mind probably being tortured.
Aww.
And, passed away in excruciating pain.
I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
It is really, really sad.
That's very upsetting.
There's a lot of questions about, was it just Sallie in the house? Were there multiple entities? Was it a shape-shifting entity?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. A lot of people do believe that there is something demonic in the house.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Demonic entities that are bad, because in some spiritual beliefs, not all demons are bad, but they thrive on chaos, ruining relationships, breaking bonds of love, trust, and friendship, isolating victims, making them feel helpless, alone. And this makes them more vulnerable to the entity's influence, which, that was clearly happening to Tony.
Right.
So, like I said, you can go visit the Sallie House. I would love to. You can pay to stay overnight. You have to sign a waiver, though, for personal injury.
No shit.
Though no serious injuries have been reported since the previous tenants.
I feel like I'm so negative. If I step foot into that house, they would eat me alive, those spirits. They'd be like, this person sucks.
You do suck. So remember you said if you were a ghost, you would pull me up by my hair and swing me around like a ceiling fan? Yeah. I suggest you don't go anywhere that's haunted after saying that, because karma. Also, a lot of people who go to the house do feel a pull to return, but also a lot of people who go to the house are like, I am never going back there.
Smart people.
Tons of investigators have investigated the Sallie House and come out with credible evidence, crazy EVPs.
Yeah.
There is a podcast called Astonishing Legends. A lot of people who listen to us would probably have heard of this podcast. And they did quite a few episodes on the house. They visited the house.
Okay.
The hosts are Scott and Forrest. Scott wound up leaving a voice recorder in, I believe it was in the nursery, but a room upstairs.
Okay.
And he put it down and he let any entities know that he would be leaving it there for 5 minutes. And if they wanted to leave recording or send a message, they could. I'm going to let you listen to the EVP that happened. He was terrified after this. I listened to the entire episode. I listened to multiple episodes of Astonishing Legends. And leading up to hearing this EVP, I was like, they're
hyping it up to be something.
Yeah, they're really hyping it up.
Okay.
And I was like, it's not going to be that bad. But when I heard it, I was planning on napping that day.
That didn't happen.
I couldn't nap in the middle of the day. So I'm really interested to see if you are going to feel the same way about it as me, number one. And number two, I'm also really interested to see if you sleep tonight.
Okay.
The voice recorder only records when it hears sound. So at the beginning, you hear Scott talking and saying, I'm going to leave this here. It's 2 minutes long. My heart's racing knowing I'm going to hear it again. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get permission from Astonishing Legends in time to release the EVP on our podcast episode. However, we are going to put a link in the comments and in the notes to this EVP, which is absolutely terrifying. We absolutely suggest listening to it if it's something you're open to. But again, trigger warning, because some people do find it extremely upsetting, especially if screaming, potentially male screaming, is something that upsets you. If you're watching this in video form, you can obviously see that Jessica is listening to the EVP and thinks it's terrifying. I obviously thought it was terrifying. If you go listen to it, let us know what you think about it in the comments. And this is them coming back.
Holy fuck.
What do you think? True opinion.
So terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't know, you can hear at one point it sounds like it's like a deep voice and it's it's saying something, but I can't get it. That is so scary. I couldn't imagine being him
He was terrified listening to it after.
That. Did he hear it from outside?
No. He went downstairs for 5 minutes and none of the people at the investigation heard anything. But it
sounds like wind, like trapped in a room almost at some points. Like, you know, like
true.
That's what it reminds me of. It's like really high winds. That was freaking terrifying. And I don't like that. And I could still hear it in my head. Yeah. It almost reminded me of like even like nails on the chalkboard. Like that sound. And like my ears were at one point like my ears were hurting.
You think that there is multiple entities in the house?
I do. I mean, if we just go based off of that alone, I would like, yes.
You do?
Of course. Yeah, I do. And especially if we think back on like the pictures and there's 2 anomalies and then the psychic Barbara coming and confirming, I think without a doubt, there's multiple spirits in the house. And yeah, Sallie wasn't doing that bad shit. You said that the psychic said that the one wasn't there when they first moved in and it came with someone else and stayed. That ghost is probably the one that's so attached to Tony, wants him. That ghost just followed him wherever they're going. That ghost probably until she finds something better is still probably with him, I bet. The kids have seen things. It's still happening. That's obviously a ghost that moves around and attaches itself to someone, and it attached itself to him, and I don't like it.
I wonder if it's possible about the shape-shifting entity, but you give a really good point with there being 2 anomalies in the photos.
Yeah. Saying that. And especially because Sallie told the psychic that the one came from someone else. It wasn't there when they moved in, and she's upset that she keeps getting blamed for all these negative things that keep on happening. So that makes me think maybe there's only 2.
Yeah.
And maybe the other one could be like a shape-shifting entity, right? And like making itself look like
Debra sometimes.
Because it would make sense if you think about it, because she wants him.
Yeah. I don't think that entity is like just like a spirit though. I think it is something potentially demonic.
100%.
There is also a theory that this house is a portal. There's been psychics that have picked up that there's like a portal in the master bedroom walk-in closet, and that a lot of psychics have said that spirits can move freely through this house, leave it, stay at it. And people who work there now say, you know, that sometimes there's something negative and oppressive feeling there, and a lot of times there's not.
Oh, I can't believe people work there. No way.
And like a lot of people who go have experiences, and a lot of people go thinking they're not going to have experiences. Scott from Astonishing Legends did not expect to have an experience. And even though his experience was listening back to that EVP, he felt like something was sending him a personal message. That's how he felt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because that's fucking just terrifying. And the way that it sounds like screaming and screeching and oh my God. It makes me wonder if when there's other stuff going on in the house, if like that's happening all the time and we just like they can't hear it.
And could baby Taylor hear that?
In the middle of the night, and when he's waking up like mortified, like blood hurtling screams, like I wonder if it's that.
That's a really interesting point, and I never thought of that.
Maybe it's that, because babies and children typically mostly between the ages of 2 and 5, they
pick up on that kind of thing, where they can see stuff that we can't. It's really scary.
Yeah, I don't like it. That last half of the story was super interesting. I am shocked that I've never heard about this before. Glad it's over. Glad it's done. No, that's fucking terrifying. Like I don't know why there's no movie about this.
Yeah, good point.
Like, why hasn't there been a movie about this yet?
Maybe there has been, but there should be like, it must be, if it did, it must be like a B-rated. We need a good movie about this.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't even have to exaggerate. Like,
no,
you know,
this is terrifying. And it's one of those things like when it starts off like just little and little and little, and then it starts like escalating. And then like this on it, like this would be a great movie.
Yeah.
Debra and Tony, get on that.
Yeah, literally. We're going to end this one here. We've been recording for a while. We normally do a little something extra or plan to do a little something extra, but
we're late.
We got to get going. So we're going to leave this one here. Rock on. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Just a Little Stitious.
We hope you had just as much fun getting creeped out as we did.
If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave us a review if you would be so kind.
And be sure to follow The Queer Crypt on YouTube if you want to watch us in video form.
We'd also love to hear from you. Send your eerie encounters to justalittlestitiouspod@gmail.com.
And remember, we're not superstitious.
We're just a little stitious.